Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm lucky enough to sit here and grab a few minutes with Patrick Lorio. He's from MerkleX exchange. They're a decentralized, hybridized exchange as well. Hopefully you can let me understand that a little bit better, as well as the viewers. Thank you so much for taking the time, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So tell me just a little bit about yourself and how you came into crypto, and then we can talk about MerkleX.
Yeah, so the first time I heard about the space in general, I was working as an intern, and someone mentioned Bitcoin just hit $1. And then I started...
Big moment, yeah.
Big moment. So I started looking it up and kind of really got into it. Tried mining for a little bit. My parents told me I was using up too much power. Don't know what happened with those coins.
Making the lights flicker up here.
Yeah, pretty much. And then got reintroduced to it when I was in college. My roommate said there was a blockchain hackathon, so I attended that. I won 2 prizes. One was Coinbase's prize. Got an internship there.
Yeah.
Then worked on the GDAX product with Roman, who basically built the entire thing, and then he kind of passed the reins off to me, and then I was the technical lead at GDAX, now Coinbase Pro, built that product, and then left to start MerkleX.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so I think that's really interesting, and we were talking about that. You, obviously you're a developer, you approach the space from the lens of a developer. You went to the hackathon, won the event, and then interned at GDAX, which I think is kind of mind-blowing. What was that like, your time working at Coinbase or for GDAX?
It was a lot of fun. It was a great environment where I got given a lot of responsibility. So, as an intern, I had the opportunity to build market orders and also a whole new deployment system for the matching engine. So, you could upload new code to the infrastructure without ever going down.
Yeah.
Just a lot of really fun projects to go after. Yeah, it was just a fun place to work, and the problems got more complicated, and more users had to handle that, and yeah, it was crazy times over there. It was a lot of fun, but at a certain point, it just wasn't the environment for me anymore. And,
yeah. Well, and what was interesting, I mean, and this is not even a bad thing, but GDAX had brought a futures derivatives platform, margin platform to market, and you were integral in getting that on board. And you were telling me kind of the almost negative story, but it's just interesting to see these kind of issues and be aware of the problems that we have in this space. What was it that shut that product down that we were just talking about?
Yeah, so it was margin trading on GDAX at the time, and yeah, it was a pretty cool product. So it seamlessly allowed you to borrow funds from Coinbase when you placed a trade. So if you had a balance of $100 in your account, you could draw more than $100, and that would be backed by the other assets you had in your portfolio.
Right.
So
you couldn't actually, there was no collateral pool to pull from, except your own, right? But you could just trade on. So I have $100 in Bitcoin, but $1,000 in Ethereum. Without doing anything with that Ethereum, just holding it, I can use that as collateral for margin.
Yeah, precisely. Okay. We had one restriction where it was the assets in the market you were trading at. So if you had Ethereum, you wouldn't be able to use that as collateral in the Bitcoin US dollar market.
Right, it'd have to be dollar to dollar market or B2C to B2C market.
Yeah.
Gotcha,
so,
that makes sense.
It was a really fun product to work on, but then yeah, we had developments, and I forget the actual date, but sometimes late 2017 there was a large market sell order which brought the market price down quite a bit, and it happened where there's just a cascading market events, so stop orders got triggered.
So the price plunged down to 10 cents, I think, right?
Somewhere around that level.
Yeah,
okay. It was from $3.12 down to under $1, and a lot of people made a lot of money, a lot of people lost a lot of money.
Naturally.
And at the end of the day, Coinbase made kind of strong decision saying we're going to make everyone whole that happened in that event. So
that's good.
Yeah.
So the space. Now, interestingly enough, tinfoil hat on at this point in time. Was that December 17th, 2019, where we reached the all-time high, and what happened after that? Straight down.
It was. I'm horrible with dates.
Sure.
It was when the price of Ethereum was climbing and was around 312. So it was before the all-time high.
Okay.
A good deal before the all-time high.
That was priming the pump for the sell side, sell side liquidity, or buy side liquidity actually at that point in time. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, great. And then you left Coinbase to work at MerkleX.
Yeah. So I founded
MerkleX.
We got seed investment from Polychain Capital, Wicklow Capital, and then an early Google employee as an angel investor, and we built out a hybrid decentralized exchange called MerkleX, and yeah, it's a pretty cool platform. So. Essentially, it's non-custodial. There's lots of debate around what decentralized and hybrid decentralized means.
Naturally.
But in our case, it's the main component is the centralized clearing network, which is a smart contract where users can deposit funds, and those funds in the smart contract are essentially escrowed. And they trade with a centralized exchange, MerkleX, where you can sign trading limits specifying I'm willing to spend this amount of DAI for this amount of Ethereum. And as you trade, you can keep signing new trading limits that allow you to trade more. And then periodically, MerkleX collects all of the trades that have happened on the network along with those trading limits and submits that to the blockchain, and their settlement happens. And the blockchain verifies all the signatures. So essentially, you have a state channel with the exchange, and the exchange will close out that state channel periodically to apply settlements.
Gotcha. And final settlement occurs on the blockchain. So this, we were talking about this, before. It's a way for people. Well, in a sense, we had this conversation where my approach to decentralized exchanges is I like them in the sense that if somebody wants to trade an asset, let them trade an asset. They can provide the liquidity. Now, as an exchange, you guys are based in the United States.
Correct.
So you have to comply with the United States regulation. You can't just let anybody trade anything they want, right? So you guys have outlawed Ripple, right?
Well, in our case, it only works with ERC20 tokens. So if someone were to make some sort of bridge, then we probably still couldn't list it. But
gotcha. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Not a problem. So, just from a real, for the people watching and for me as well, like we approach, a lot of people are just, well, you obviously have a huge amount of variety in cryptocurrency space, especially when it comes to the tradability of an asset or moving them around. Some people are interested in the technological approach, like how can I make something non-fungible and how can I transfer an asset, how can I change ownership of an asset and make that as decentralized and distributed and as secure as possible, right? You have others interested in the speculative market. You have others interested in the economics of it, the ethics of it. How can we use this to boost our humanitarianism or improve the world around us? You have all of these interesting bedfellows pulled together by the technology of cryptocurrency, which is pretty neat. So, from a very simple perspective, like what would be the problem that trading on MerkleX would solve for me rather than trading on Binance? Like, very practically. Yeah.
Right. So, for the individual trader, it's being able to custody your own keys, which the value proposition, like we've seen low adoption, and the value proposition is kind of different for each individual. So for the paranoid user that doesn't trust Binance to hold their keys, we're a decent option. But then, you have the chicken egg problem with liquidity where, you make your own trade-offs. What our platform allows you to do is to trade with high frequency with still retaining your own keys at low cost. So with regular decentralized exchanges, every single time you make a trade, for the most part, that equates to an Ethereum transaction. For us, you can have any number of trades, and that gets aggregated, and basically our cost is a function of how many people we're actively trading. So the value proposition is you can trade on our exchange as much as you like. It's essentially free because the gas costs are so low for us, and you can custody your own keys.
Yeah. You can make many trades, and you don't kind of run into the clutter of the Ethereum blockchain that we've seen with other approaches as well. Right?
Yeah, precisely.
And that's so again, the custody of your own keys, which is the problem the decentralized exchanges solve, with their ethos. That's the point, right? And then kind of the extra value proposition for MerkleX is the ability to not clog the blockchain by doing things off-chain and then having final settlement after we've batched a bunch of transactions. So very similar to like a batch transaction in the Bitcoin blockchain, for example, right?
Yeah, similar to that. We also if you had a centralized entity on the Bitcoin network that would essentially aggregate the final payouts, then it's similar like that. But
this is a state channel, and we're talking about smart contracts.
Yeah, here on the smart contract, it's able to, if the four of us were trading, right, it would basically just aggregate all those trades together. So each party would only have 2 balance updates for that market, rather than having the complicated intricacies of us trading amongst each other. Then, like the web just gets kind of put together.
Sure. And what do you guys have, on your market right now? What could I go to? And by the way, where do I go?
Yeah, so it's merklex.io.
Okay.
Is the domain.
And then I connect my MetaMask.
Yeah, you connect your MetaMask.
Off to the races. I got a bunch of Ethereum Classic I need to get rid of.
Well, it's not. I don't know of a bridge to Ethereum Classic,
teasing.
but
I get it. Yeah.
Sometimes that'd be interesting to list. If they, do you know is there an ERC20 Ethereum Classic bridge to Ethereum?
Guys, let me know in the comment section down below.
Had to look into that, but yeah.
So what do you guys have on your market right now?
So
what could I go trade?
Right now, pretty much everything is paired against DAI. So we have Ethereum DAI, US dollar coin DAI, BAT DAI, Augur DAI.
Okay.
I think we have 7 or so markets.
Cool.
7 or 8, yeah.
Okay. Neat. Nice. Yeah. And they can find it at MerkleX.io.
Yes. That will have to change, though, at the end of the year. We got a trademark infringement from Merkle Inc., an advertising company. So it will become Nitrade.io.
As you guys going to do a rebrand to Nitrade?
Yeah.
You know, it sounds a little, rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, so I do like MerkleX because it's the Merkle tree, and I don't know, I like data structures.
But it's good, you know, I'll just tell you from a standpoint, somebody's like, man, MerkleX, check that out. Okay, cool, Nitrade. Nitrade? I like that on my sushi. Let's go. Yeah.
And if you ever look at the site, the theme of night and like the dark color theme,
sure,
it kind of fits. So
I like it.
It's cool.
What do you think? You know, just from being in the space and seeing where we're at right now, like, what do you think? Where are we at? Where are we at with cryptocurrency? Like adoption? Like, do people get it? Are we really growing here? Are we still kind of at that level where we're, you know, trying to scream at the sky, getting people to get it? You know?
Yeah, there's lots of things, right? Like, I really like smart contracting platforms. Just the ability to spin out a cool application and like anyone can use it. I don't know. I just really love this stuff. Like for me, Ethereum is just the fuel to power the ability to have this, to put logic on the consensus layer.
Sure.
So yeah, I probably spent quite a bit of money just paying for gas, just playing around. Like recently, just for fun, built marginswap.com. So it actually allows you to use Compound and Uniswap or Kyber or any decentralized exchange to do margin trading.
Neat.
Yeah, so it basically...
You pull in liquidity from a centralized exchange to trade on a decentralized exchange?
It uses the decentralized exchange along with Compound to give you leverage.
Right, yeah. Like,
so,
or array approach, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so it actually... normally Compound, you like deposit collateral, then you can withdraw funds. Here we have like a temporary loan that the smart contract will give you money to place the trade, and the output of that trade goes into Compound, and then you borrow what you put into the trade and you return that back to the smart contract.
Yeah, that's neat.
So you instantly get the maximum amount of leverage provided by Compound.
Yeah.
So if Compound has a 75% collateral ratio, you can do a 4x trading. Whereas normally, if you deposit $1 in Compound, you only get 75 cents out.
Right.
You can, it flips on its head, so you can have the maximum leverage instantly.
You put that on top of the fact that you can borrow DAI as well. So that's pretty neat.
Yes.
That's pretty neat. You can do a lot with that. All right.
Yes.
So guys who want access to margin but can't trade on ByBit and don't want to use a VPN, check it out.
Marginswap.com. That works.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, but I guess for the space, that was really fun to build, but. Security audits are so expensive. So disclaimer, be careful. That was just like a 1 week project.
Sure.
But just the ability to be confident that your smart contract is secure, I think is something that is kind of missing in the space where, recently, are you familiar with the 0x exploit?
Not the exploit, no, please.
Yeah, so there was a bug bounty that was recently rewarded. I think the guy came off of $100,000 for the bug bounty. Essentially, with 0x, you form an order, and that order is paired with a signature. And as someone who takes on that order, you basically take the order along with the signature, and you say, I want to trade against this. And then the smart contract takes that information, verifies the signature, and then allows you to trade with it. But there's lots of different signature types. There's a signature type that Ledger supports, a signature type that MetaMask supports, and then there's a signature type where you say, this smart contract, call a function on that smart contract, and if it returns true, then this order is valid.
Okay, and people were using that to exploit the system.
Yeah, so there was a bug in the 0x contract where it said, so it just the nature of how the EVM works, if it were to call a smart contract and that function is not implemented, in certain scenarios, it would automatically validate to true. And now the big kicker is that if it's just a end user wallet, and you try and call that smart contract function to the end user wallet, it would always resolve to true. So my understanding of this exploit is that you could basically make up an order for any user that has used 0x in the past, and then make up this phony signature where you say, check the wallet function, and it would automatically validate. So, my understanding of this is basically you can look at all the approvals to the ERC20 the smart contract, providing allowance to the 0x smart contract, and you could basically take everyone's money instantly. So, yeah, having certainty around that is.
Now they've plugged it.
Yes, they turned off the smart contract. They did essentially a hard fork, so everyone has to reuse the new smart contract. So it's now fixed, but just these things that are hidden in plain sight are very terrifying.
Of course. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you for taking the time, man. I appreciate it. And again, MerkleX.com is where individuals can find you.
MerkleX.io. Yes.
MerkleX.io, I apologize. Any final thoughts, words?
It's been fun.
Yeah, cool, man. Cool. Thank you so much for taking the time, man.
Yeah.
Highly appreciate it, man. Thank you, brother.